Hello folks, there's been a lot of questions on the other website that I have for mobile home skirting using metal. A lot of questions have been, where do I get the metal? Now Lowe's is a opportunity to buy there. I personally have never bought at Lowe's because I know the prices are way higher. Lowe's, Home Depot, Meeks, whatever is in your area might have the metal that they use on metal buildings, and in Lowe's case they would usually use it for like porch coverings and so on. But the place where I get it is a metal building supply, and you have to order the sizes that you need, and on a skirting job it might start on one end higher, longer, and the other side shorter. So you might want to calculate so you don't buy too much metal that you have to cut off. And a lot of times you have to allow for the fact that you're cutting at an angle because it's going down in a hole and coming back. Okay, on the J channel, I have had it asked of me, how come you don't put it on wood? That way it would not blow out. First of all, I've never had this blow out with 6-inch nails every 2 feet. Second of all, just water alone, no matter if it's pressure treated or not, will rot this wood. I promise you, it will rot. More importantly, anytime you put wood on the back side of your skirting, that wood will attract carpenter ants, termites, all kinds of bugs that like living in wet, soft wood. So don't use wood on the bottom of your skirting. Don't do it, because it will rot away and it will be swinging in the air. But the last video that I showed you guys was using the trim from the original plastic skirting so as to save money. So this time I'm just going to show you how to order and how to install the top front and then the bottom J channel. Both of these are superior again to the plastic, but the plastic lasts a long time, so don't get me wrong, you can definitely use the plastic. It will last a lot longer than the skirting that goes up and down. Now, if you guys, if you can come a little closer, whenever I order the top front, which covers over the metal skirting, it has a 3-inch front, a 1-inch back, and maybe a 2-inch up. It can be 1.5 inches. And that way you've got a place to put a screw, and this covers over a myriad of up and down that you might have on the top of your skirting. You might not be able to get it exactly straight. But if you notice the profile, it's also hemmed on the bottom. And you tell them hem, so that way it's not a sharp edge and somebody could go along and anything could rub up against it and cut it. Now, that being the shape, that would be your top front. Hold on a second. This would be the bottom J, which the panel sits down in. This, in this case, is 1 inch on the front, 1 inch on the bottom, and then 2.5, 3 inches on the very back. That way you can slide in, hit, and then drop down in. Believe me, that's a real advantage to having this higher. And then what you would use is usually use 6-inch nails. They can cost you 18 to 30 cents a piece, and I put them about every 2 feet. But we're going to start with the top front, which is right here. Sort of a vinyl skirting term, using top front, because on a vinyl skirting job you end up with a top back, and then the top front slides up into the top back and it covers that. We're not doing that. We're eliminating all that. You don't need that, because you're screwing your metal building panels into the house, which they do not bow unless that house is really settling. Usually what it does is it shoves the J channel down into the dirt. But so we don't need a top back or top front. We don't have the dilemmas that plastic has. But here we are trying to figure out what to do about a corner. So I might measure say 30 something inches, and that's where the corner is. Well, first of all, you're going to lap over. Every piece is going to be lapped over. So you go to that measurement and you come out and you go, oh well, I'm going to be right there, but I need to allow a 2-inch lap on that side or underneath, over the top, either way. So that's where I'm going to meet. You measure to your mobile home corner, but you need to allow an inch coming out. So that's going to come out an inch on both sides. Mind you, that profile is an inch right there. So you allow some lap, and you got that. No, you don't have to be super skilled at that. So you mark it, that good old speed square that everybody likes. There's your mark. You mark it down here, and you mark it right here. And you mark it like so. Now, first thing I do, since I marked it down here, if I don't cut it right here, it has a tendency to bend where it wants to. So that what I do first, just to keep it straight in my head, is I cut here and I cut up here. Now this is a 1 inch. So what you can do is you measure over an inch, both sides. In this case, I can just almost do it by heart. And then I go from that inch over to that mark. Remember that mark here lines up with that one and this one? Like that. Now a lot of times it's hard to get to. So you can, see how it's trying to buckle? Take and go like so, open it up, and get your snips to cut right there, and then you fold it back. See how that closed up? That would be an outside corner. Now I did that all freehand. There's a lot of issues with trying to use a left-handed, which would be a green-handled pair of snips, or a right-handed. You can figure out which one. I always use a straight, and I like WISS, W-I-S-S, because they cut further back. I started in the 80s doing metal stud, and I used Sears. I used every kind of snips, and the WISS has been the best as far as springs lasting, jaw staying sharp, and cutting deep. So that actually is not a pretty a corner as I would like it to be, but it still works. Then if you're doing an inside corner, an inside corner is a little different. Personally, I don't really care to have, again, you might want to use the speed square to make it straight and square. I really don't like to do that against that and then leave this right here open. So what I usually do is I allow for that 1 inch right here, cut out right here, and go over the top. So I can almost guess it by heart. But you can measure it exactly, whatever depth you make it here. And that sits over that. And that could be an open corner a little bit. It could be an opposite corner such as that. So that would be how I would do it. Now, quite often you run into areas where you have to cut around a phone line that's coming up through. What you can do is measure where it is. Again, leave yourself a little room to lap over and forgive yourself a little bit. Say if it's that wide, all you got to do is do like that. And if you don't like that area exposed, you can put a little piece back in there behind it to hide it. But your wire would be coming up through, and it could be smaller than that. It could be right on down to a little tiny wire area. What I have done with people that are real fussy, of course I charge extra for people that are extra fussy, but you drill a hole the exact size of that wire right there, then you cut down to it, then you open it up, and then you push it back. You can do that too. It usually ends up being difficult. Now, sometimes you can also square down and cut straight through that. And guess what? You can make that area really, really tight. See? So, that top front doesn't have to be as high right here. This is 2 inches. I made it for a specific type of skirting area. I wanted to make sure I had plenty of area to grab. But you can use it 1.5 inches or so. But the biggest thing is, remember that you want to have lap. That's really pretty easy, but you can pop a line, make it dead on straight. Make sure you got that room that you need at the top. So there's your top front. I order it, and usually when I tell them I want a 3 inch, a 1 inch, and then a 1.5 inches or 2 inch here, the color is on the outside. You have to tell them it's color on the outside. If you don't say it, then and you have to say him. If you don't say it, you're going to end up with the color on the inside. So this is what you want, color outside. Now, we can move to J channel, which is more work. Way more work. J channel is hidden too by the grass, by the dirt, so on and so on. Again, you get this at a metal building supply. Issues end up being, well, what do I do when I got to go over certain things, like down into a dip? Well, you measure where your dip is at, you cut it, bottom, and then you cut it again where it raises back up. Ends up being a dip, see? It can be any kind of angle, it can be any kind of depth, but you can get it down. If you want to break it down and get down to little tiny areas, try to go over every little rock, it can get really strange what you can do. Now, I again don't like these gaps, so what I usually do is cut it, lay it inside. Down in the ground, dirt's going to be up against it, grass is going to be up against it, it's going to happen. Now, sometimes you go over blocks, sometimes you go over 2x, sometimes you go over 4x. We'll do a little bit of that. Now what you can do, if you don't feel confident enough, is you can cut it up to that, and then you can go around it with little pieces, and that's really a journey. Generally what I do is I take and measure up to it. Again, I allow the area to lap over, and then I cut like so. And then if I need to put in a top piece, usually I let it go a little bit longer. Let's do that a little longer. Using a tape measure is a good thing, but let's just do it longer. You see that? That other piece that you're going to put in there, ends up being that high. So we end up doing this. This can sit inside. and then I need to take pencil and mark the bottom of that. That way I know how far I need to cut it out. See that mark? And then I cut both sides to that mark and then fold it down. Don't like it a little bit. Say it's doing that right there. That can be cut off. It's sticking up because of that other piece right there. You can cut that off and lower it down. Wow, keeps on sticking out. Now, sometimes when you get into really fancy work, if you got to make these line up perfectly, and if you want to, you can do like they do ceiling grid and ridge cap, or not ridge cap, but like on shingle roofs, you can cut that right smack in the middle, right across, and it looks like you did a perfect job. So there you go. That would be how you get over a 2x4 or a 4x4 or a block. Then comes the issue of outside corners. First of all, you're leveling down from the outside of your mobile home, and then you can take your pencil and make a mark in the dirt. Just move the dirt. And that is the back side. When you're leveling down, that's your back side. So you got to allow an inch to come out. So you make your mark on the bottom, like so. And then you make your mark over here. And it goes like so. And you get ready to make your outside corner. So you measure. Now again, you can forgive yourself. You don't got to be exact. You want to lap over into the other one anyway. So say we're going to break into the middle of this, and I know it's going to be right there. My measurement is right there to the outside. All right, I made my mark right there. Again, just like I did on that top front, on the inside corner, it's the same thing. Except I don't have, only really I want to do is cut right there at the top, and then I'll cut an inch over this way and an inch over this way, and I aim toward that center. And then I cut it. Guess what? I just dropped it. Inside corner. Ta-da. Or an outside corner. That's really what that's, an outside corner. So then you got an inside corner. It's quite a bit simpler. All you got to do for an inside corner is make your mark, cut it all the way across the bottom, probably would have helped if I cut this one to that hem. There's an inside corner. This doesn't matter back here because it's going to be covered up with metal. You know, basically what I'm doing is showing you guys how to do your own work, even if you want to have your own little business at doing it. And it's really not, you have to build your own reputation. Like I have in this area 23 years. Build your reputation for quality. Do what you say you're going to do. And the fact that I can't do everything in this whole great big old world we live in, that means you guys can do it instead of just me. And at my age, I love teaching. I have always loved teaching, no matter how. Sometimes it's kind of fun because it's funny. Somebody gets awkward and you can laugh about it. But really, the things that I teach you, like forgive yourself to allow some movement because you're lapping over, like with the J channel, you're laying over. You can lay over a foot if you want to, but you can forgive yourself. Don't worry about being perfect. This scenario is not something that requires it. So I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to do is share with you some 25 years of experience, maybe more. I try to forget how old I am, and let you guys grow with it. And if you understand that, then I intend to sort of be like Will Rogers. I try to find the glass half full instead of half empty, and I try to find good in everyone. So I hope that these videos that I make your life a little bit easier, understanding how to do things than nobody showed me. I was the first one in this area to do this, and I was the first one to do metal roofs actually in this area. I started doing them down in Austin, so that'll be another discussion, but I don't mind sharing these things. And I encourage you guys to check out all the other videos I have on how to repair mobile homes and the ones that I have coming up. And if you wish, subscribe, but particularly learn. That's the whole idea for me doing this, is so you can learn how to do it yourself. Thank you.